Hello and welcome to Talking with History, where we interview historical personalities in a candid and refreshing manner. Today's guest is none other than the illustrious Pharaoh Ramses the Great of ancient Egypt. Ramses, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great privilege and honor for you to have me here.
Yes, indeed it is. So, Ramses, can you give the listeners a little background about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I'm addressed as Ramses the Great for good reason, of course, but technically, I am Ramses II. I was the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. I ruled Egypt after my father Seti I died, and I ruled Egypt from 1279 BCE until 1213 BCE. So almost 66 years, which is not too shabby if I say so myself.
I agree. Now, Ramses, you've had an incredible career as Pharaoh of Egypt. Could you tell us some of your architectural accomplishments during your reign?
Of course, no pharaoh of Egypt could rule without leaving his mark on the land, and I made sure to build some of the most amazing architectural achievements of the ancient world. Two in particular I'm very proud of, the Ramesseum and the temples of Abu Simbel. I commissioned many other works, but those two I'm exceptionally proud of.
The Ramesseum sounds very interesting. Could you tell us what exactly it is?
The Ramesseum was a memorial temple complex. I made it to commemorate my reign as pharaoh and show off my military prowess, political cunning, and religious devotion to the gods. You can see all the details of my life on the pylon of Ramses. It also has a giant statue of myself, and although stylized in design, I must say it really captured my greatness very well.
And what is the significance of the Abu Simbel temple?
Obviously, to commemorate the gods, but also to showcase my victory at the Battle of Kadesh, and as a monument to my beloved queen, Nefertari.
Ah, yes, Queen Nefertari. How did the two of you meet? What was your relationship like?
Oh, well, Nefertari, she came from a noble family, and my father saw fit that I should marry her. I was 15 at the time, and she was 13 when we got married. At first I didn't really know what to make of her, but she was one of the loveliest and sweetest of creatures, and I was absolutely enamored by her as a wife, mother, and consort. We had 6 children together, 4 boys and 2 girls, and at the time she was quite educated, very well educated in fact, and I could count on her skills and abilities during my diplomatic travels and military conquests.
Did you have other wives and begot children from them as well?
Well, naturally, I am Pharaoh after all. I am entitled to have several wives. By my count, I must have sired over 100 children. But Nefertari was the main wife, and she was the love of my life, whom I adored with all my heart.
Okay, Ramses, so let's talk about your reputation as one of Egypt's greatest military leaders, particularly your legendary Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites. How did the battle come about?
Well, you see, prior to my accession as Pharaoh, Egypt was in the midst of tremendous internal political and economic strife. We faced hostilities from foreign powers, primarily the Assyrians and the Hittites. And all this was due to that fool Akhenaten, who destroyed Egypt's strength and ruined its glory with his heretical attempts to replace the gods with his own sole god. He wasted too much time, too many resources, and he ignored his people. And as such, he left us open to ruin and misfortune. It was my father, Seti I, who undertook the laborious task, but necessary task, of rebuilding Egypt's military strength to protect our borders and interests, and retake back lands lost in previous battles. And I continue his legacy by making Egypt the strongest nation in the ancient world, with almost 100,000 soldiers at arms.
I see. Now, from my understanding, your father recaptured Kadesh and nearby Amuru from the Hittites, but then allowed them to slowly take over the same lands?
No. That is not technically true. My father did successfully capture both areas from Hittites, but due to internal strife and political challenges, he was unable to garrison enough men to protect the territories, which unfortunately wound back under Hittite control. Keeping this limitation in mind, I gathered an army of roughly 50,000 men and over 5,000 chariots and arranged them into 4 divisions. The Ammon division, led by myself, Re, Pa, and Sutek. My plan was to go straight to the city of Kadesh and attack it from all sides and capture the city.
Your enemy was being led by Muwatalli, the leader of the Hittites. Did you know him personally?
King Muwatalli? No, I had heard of his reputation. I knew him to be a wily desert fox and an able commander, but I never met him face to face.
Now, I have to be honest with you, Ramses. There are a lot of conflicting accounts of the battle. Some researchers have said that you were duped by two spies and were too impetuous in your advance that you nearly lost the battle. In almost all accounts, historians say you never won the battle in the first place, that the Battle of Kadesh was a draw. What do you have to say to those allegations?
By the beard of Osiris, what scandalous lies! Let me get this record straight. I did beat the Hittites in battle, from a tactical standpoint. My forces and theirs engaged in open battle, and I routed the enemy and made them flee. The victory was mine. Now, strategically, you could argue that the battle could have been a stalemate, but my military success ensured that the Hittites would no longer harass or transgress into Egyptian borders, and Egyptian morale and glory was reignited by my success. Now, to answer your question about being duped, it was my ministers and viziers who were in charge of interrogating those two captured spies who reported about Muwatalli's forces. They told us that he was 100 miles away from Kadesh. Now, I was counting on my advisors to ascertain the truth of the spies' information, and they assured me that it was legitimate. Upon that news, I decided to act and rushed with my Amun division to capture the city of Kadesh as soon as possible and reinforce it before Muwatalli arrived.
But why didn't you wait for all your divisions to join you?
I couldn't risk it. If I had waited too long for all my divisions to catch up, Muwatalli could have reached Kadesh and taken refuge in the city. It would have been much harder to capture. So based on the information I was given, I had to act. It was now or never moment.
When did you realize that something was amiss?
What happened was this. We came to the city walls of Kadesh. I inspected the area. We took note that there was no enemy forces nearby, and my men managed to capture two Hittite deserters. They informed us that Muwatalli was already at Kadesh, and I was absolutely infuriated with my advisors. How could they have not verified the information given to us prior? In any case, I had to immediately take stock of the situation and come up with another strategy to take on Muwatalli's forces. So I ordered all my divisions to immediately move up as soon as possible.
Was that when the Hittites ambushed your Amun division?
No, the dastardly Hittites attacked my Ra division right in its center as they were moving up to reinforce my rear. Despite their valiant efforts, my soldiers had to break formation and rush up north towards mine. While I was trying to gear up to come to the division's rescue, the Hittites attacked my Ammon division from the rear. We took heavy losses, and I marshaled up my forces and pushed back the Hittite attack. Luckily, the greedy Hittite barbarians were far more concerned with loot than noble warfare, and while they were ransacking my camp, I took my fast-moving chariots, fought off the main Hittite attack, and cut the looters down. They had no chance of escape. By the time I was done, my other divisions came forth, and the enemy, seeing they were outnumbered, ran off into the city walls with their tails between their legs.
So ultimately, in the end, did you capture the city of Kadesh?
No, I did not. My forces had badly mauled the Hittites and incurred heavy losses upon them, and although undeserving, I allowed them to flee in peace. I, Ramses, do not attack a bloodied enemy who have no means to fight back.
What were your losses during this battle?
Whatever they were, they were. What matters was that I won the battle.
So after the battle, you went back to Memphis and built temples to commemorate the battle. What happened in the aftermath?
After my successful Battle of Kadesh, I had to undertake several military campaigns to expand Egyptian power and keep the Hittites at bay. I beat them again during the 8th year of my reign and captured the cities of Dapur and Tunip. I ensured that the Hittites would never threaten Egyptian power ever again.
Now, not many people know this, Pharaoh Ramses, but I think one of the most important events in history was when you and the Hittites signed an official peace treaty, the first in recorded history, during the 21st year of your reign. How did that come about?
It came about after the death of Muwatalli. His son, Hattusili III, made the right decision to sue for peace with me, and once and for all established proper boundary lines for our respective territories. He wrote letters to me, intimating his desire to settle our accounts once and for all, and I agreed. This eternal treaty, or also known as the Treaty of Kadesh, was signed by myself and Hattusili in the full view of both of our peoples, and in the presence of the gods. It was honored for as long as I reigned.
We've now come to the end of our interview, and I must say, Pharaoh Ramses, it's been a great honor and privilege interviewing you. You truly are one of the greatest men in human history.
God, my dear friend, a living God.